Good day, everyone. I am Jocelyn Litimas, and I am in the group 3, and we are going to report about evaluating the messages. So, what is evaluating the messages? So we were going to know that later on. So our topics is all about a picture paints 1,000 words. So that is our lesson 1. Our lesson 2 is the power of nonverbal cues, and the lesson 3 is speaking through promotion. So that we're going to report later on with my group mates. To my group mates. Sorry. So outcomes. At the end of this chapter, you are expected to identify individual elements or aspects that contributes to the messages, analyze the function of such elements toward the attain of the messages, distinguish moods and motives reflected, and illustrate certain characteristics of effective messages. So, we have a chapter overview. So, chapter overview. This chapter introduces you to the different modes by which messages are conveyed. More important is the ultimate goal of delineating personal judgments on the ideas presented that would engage you toward the diversity of cultures manifested. So necessarily, the goal to objectify the attack against a particular set of images or objects that create meaning is highlighted in this part. So, Butler 1990s said, "Language is not an exterior medium or instrument into which I pour a self from which I glean a reflection of that self. Indeed, to understand, identify as a practice and as a signifying practice is to understand culturally intangible subject as the resulting effects of the rule-bound discourse that inserts." So, itself in the pervasive and mundane signifying acts of linguistic life. So that is Butler 1990s. So let's begin. So, what is evaluating messages? So, evaluating messages in this era made it the simpler. Looking at them through several lenses is helpful as culture is arbitrary in nature. So, it conveys ideas that are distinct and rooted in myriad sensibilities. So, what one experiences is what one brings to the table. Further explain what is depicted in the picture, video, or any form of illustration. So, ug unsay mo hang picture out, ug unsay mong nakita, ug unsay mo hang understanding of that picture, pwede nimo ma-conveyed or ma-explain through words to your classmates or etc. So, unlocking messages is essential to evaluation. So, be mindful of the elements that make you up of book of illustration. At these are the ones you will assessing as you read on. So the importance of evaluating the effectiveness of messages is by developing and using strategic questions to identify its strengths and weaknesses. So, na-jud kay ma-question sa imuhang mind if you look at the picture. So, maka-create kag word or maka-create kag question through your mind because of kanang na-confuse ka ana nga picture. So, imo siyang kanang gamitan og mga questions. So next is the strategies for evaluating a messages. So there are strategies. So in order to evaluate whether a message is effective, we can ask ourselves as a series of questions which reflect messages. So there are 4 main qualities for an effective messages. So first is the simplicity, specificity, structures, and stickiness. The definition of this main qualities is simplicity. First is the simplicity. So in order to ensure that our messages have simplicity, we should ask ourselves 2 questions. So, is my purpose evident? Is my core messages clear? So, for the simplicity, it is the quality or condition of being easy to understand or do. that is simplicity. So you should have a simplicity to your work, and simplicity to picture it out. So specificity, it refers to our choices of language and its usage in order to ensure language is so specific. We may ask ourselves, is my language specific? Is my language concrete rather than abstract? Am I sewing word which have additional meaning and could perhaps be misconstructed? It's like abstract. So what do you mean by abstract? So kanang daghan kay ka kanang thoughts na di nimo masulti or di nimo ma-explain. So you should be specific. That is specificity. You should be specific about what you're going to do or what are you going to picture out in that picture. So you should be specific, from the word specificity, specific. So next is structure. What is structure? So ideas should be organized and easy to follow. So does my message have a structured? Is there a more effective way to arrange my ideas? So structure, the arrangement of the relations between the parts of the elements of something complex. So dapat naka-structure about your ideas. So stickiness, the message should display coherent and unity of ideas. Does the ideas of the messages flow smoothly? So stickiness, stickiness is how an idea stay around our culture and commands our attention. So that is stickiness. It combines the idea of being memorable and staying near in front of our mind. So sticky message win the war for our attention by holding on our focus despite the incursions or of a new messages. So stickiness of ideas. So you should be focus on that ideas. So that is stickiness, from the word stickiness. So it is focus on ideas and how you figure it out, the picture or something like that. Next, evaluating messages. It is important critically to evaluate images you use for research, study, and presentations. Images should be evaluated like any other source. So, such as journal, articles, or books to determine their quality, reliability, and appropriateness. Visual analysis is important step in evaluating an image and understanding its meaning. And also there are 3 steps of evaluating images, and these are: first, identifying source. So mangita kag source. Identifying source. So imo i-identify na nga source. Interpret and contextual information. So imong i-interpret na nga context. Understand the implication. So imo siya i-understand, isulong sa imong utok ug imong i-understand. So there are analyzing the text or messages. So first, context analysis. So this is a method of researching communication patterns. It can focus on words, subject, and concept in the text or images. So from the word context analysis, so imong i-analyze first ang content sa imong images or text. So there are few guide questions about that. So first is, what do you see? What is the image is all about? Are there people in the image? What are they doing? How are they presented? Can the image be looked at the different ways? How effective is the image as a visual messages? So mao na siya ang imong guide question para makasabot ka sa content analysis. Next one is visual analysis. From the word visual analysis. So imong i-analyze ang iyahang visual. It is an important step in evaluating an image and understanding its meaning. So there are guide question also. So these methods are na yung mga guide question para makasabot dahin mo. So visual analysis guide question is, how is the image composed? What is the background and what is the foreground? What are the most important visuals? So that are the guide question for you to understand the visual analysis. Next is the image source. From the word image source. So mangita kag source sa image. So the act of evaluating text and images show how a person thinks and reads critically. It is also a good way to listen and spreading of fake news in the online. So, from the image source. So, mangita kag source sa image para di ka maka-create og mga fake news and etc. So, dapat mukuha ka og ganang tinuod nga information about that image. So there are guide questions. Where did you find the image? What information does the source provide about the origins of the image? Is the source reliable and trustworthy? That question. What was the image found in an image database, or was it being used in another context or convey meaning? So last, no, this is not the last. Technical quality. So technical communication is a broad field and includes any form of communication that exhibits one or more of the following characteristics. So communicating about technical or specialized topics such as computer application, medical procedures, or environmental regulation. So mostly images or text or that context kay makita na nato through technologies because gamay na lang kayo ang mga tao karon nga magbasa og libro or motanaw og mga kanang concept sa books. So there are guide question. Is the image large enough to suit your purposes? Are the color, light, balance are true? Is the image a quality digital images or image without pixelation or distortion? Is the image in a file format you can use? So that are the guide question. So next, yes, it is the last. So contextual information from the word info. So information about that content. So when conversation takes place, context work to interpret parts of the images. So kind of these are the guide questions. So what information accompanies the image? Does the text change how you see the image, and how? Is the textual information intended to be factual and information, or is to intended to influence what and how you see? What kind of context does the information provide, and does it answer the question where, how, and why? So that's all. Let's proceed to lesson 1.
And we are here on the lesson 1 entitled A Picture Paints a Thousand Words. It has evolved into an idiom which refers to the notion that one single image can convey a story as effectively as a large amount of descriptive text. It also means that a single picture can express something more clearly and vividly than a large number of words can. This just means a picture is worth 1,000 words implies a solitary picture can communicate something more plainly or strikingly than countless words can. Some experts suggest that images are more likely to be remembered than words because our brains dually encode images but encode words only once. Humans respond and process visual data better than any type of data. Example of use. Wow, this photograph really is amazing. A picture paints 1,000 words. Guide questions in unlocking messages. Number 1. What is the general motive of the picture? When you are evaluating a message, you need to identify what is the dominant idea or central theme of the picture being shown. Number 2. How does the motive reflect interrelatedness of the elements? After identifying the theme, you need to evaluate the connection of the theme to the elements. Number 3. What objects or elements check out? Number 4. What object or word seem out of place? Check for words nga nasaag or dili belong. Number 5. What culture prevails in understanding the meaning conveyed? Ang kultura na gigamit sa pagsabot sa mensahe. Number 6. What general note can be drawn by the picture? Unsa ang kinatibuk-ang notice nga mahimong gisgutan sa picture o unsa ang main idea? Guide question in evaluating messages. 1. How is the message conveyed? Does it communicate to someone directly or indirectly through words or actions? Was it specified and easy to understand? Number 2. What belief is used to support the messages? Number 3. In what way is the message best delivered? May it be with the use of direct language and deliver a message that is clear, calm, and direct. Number 4. To what extent is the impact of the messages felt? Is the message effective Unsa epekto sa message? Does it relate to you and catch your attention? Number 5. Who is the addresser of the messages? Kung kinsa ang speaker, mo reflect man iyahang kanang personality or iyahang stand ug iyang culture as an individual. Number 6. What ethos does the messages support? Unsa ang kredibilidad o source ang ni-support sa message o sa claim sa speaker? For example, it's a hard hat, but what is a hard hat? Can you say something about the hard hat? Let's first take a simple example. This is a hard hat. A hard hat is used for a few purposes, but its main purpose is for the protection of construction workers on job sites. Workers wear hard hats to protect their heads. They also wear hard hats that are bright colored so that the other people on the construction site can see where they are. In addition, athletes like baseball players or hockey players wear this during their games to protect themselves from injury. Hence, we can write many more about this hard hat, so it proves that a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Good day, I am Gwen Kate Montilla and I am presenting the lesson 2, the power of nonverbal cues. Verbal communication. Nonverbal communication refers to communication that is produced by some means other than words, eye contact, body language, or vocal cues. In other words, communication without using words such as expression is called nonverbal communication. As we can see in the picture, the example like body language, facial expression, eye contact, and hand gestures. For example, facial expressions of emotion. Emotions are expressed mainly through the face, body, and voice. Next is communication of interpersonal attitudes. The establishment and maintenance of relationships is often done through nonverbal signals, like tone of voice, gaze, touch, and etc. Next is accompany and support speech. Vocalization and nonverbal behaviors are synchronized with a speech and conversation, like nodding one's head or using phrases like aha when another is talking. Next is self-presentation, presenting oneself to another through nonverbal attributes like appearance. Rituals, the use of greetings, handshakes, or other rituals. Disadvantage of nonverbal cues, vague and imprecise. In this communication, there is no use of word or language which expresses clear meaning to the receiver. Long conversations are not possible. In nonverbal communication, long conversation and necessary explanation are not possible. No party can discuss the particular issues of the messages. Difficult to understand, since it uses gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, touch, etc. For communicating with others, it may not be understandable for simple and foolish people. Next is costly. For example, name-size PowerPoint presentations, cinemas, etc. are very so much costly compared to other forms of communication. Last is distortion of information. Since it uses gesture, facial expressions, eye contact, touch, sign, sound, paralanguage, etc. For communicating with others, there is a great possibility of distortion of information in nonverbal communication. Types of nonverbal cues. First is kinesics. The word kinesis came from the root word kinesis, which means movement and refers to the study of hand, arm, body, and face movements. Especially these sections will outline the use of gestures, head movements, and posture, eye contact, and facial expressions as nonverbal communications. Next is facial expressions. Our faces are the most expensive part of our bodies. Think of how photos are often intended to capture a particular expressions in a flash to preserve for later viewing. Even though a photo is a snapshot in time, we can still interpret much meaning from a human face caught in a moment of expressions and basics. Facial expressions are recognizable by humans all over the world, like for example happiness, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. This is movements and posture. Head movements and posture are often both used to acknowledge others and communicate interest, or attentiveness in terms of head movements. A head nod is a universal sign of acknowledgement in cultures where the formal bow is no longer used as a greetings. Next is eye gaze. This is our type of nonverbal cues. Looking, staring, and blinking can be also important to nonverbal behaviors when people encounter or people things that they like. The rate of blinking increases and populate. Looking at another person can indicate a range of emotions, including hostility, interest, and attractions. Proxemics refers to the study of how space and distance influence communication. We only need to look at the ways in which space shows up in common metaphors to see that space communication and relationships are closely related. For example, when we are content with and attracted to someone, we say we are close to him or her. When we lose connections with someone, we may say he or she is distant. Paralinguistics refers to a vocal communication that is separate from actual language. This includes factors such as a tone of voice, loudness, inflection, and pitch. Consider the powerful effect that tone of voice can have on the meaning of a sentence. When said in a strong voice of tone, listeners might interpret approval and enthusiasm. The same word said in a hesitant tone of voice might convey disapproval and lack of interest. Next is haptics. Is the study of touching such as nonverbal communications. Touches that can be defined as a communication include handshake, holding hands, kissing, either cheeks, lips, and hand, back slap, high five, shoulder pat, brushing arm, etc. Each of these gives of nonverbal communication messages as to that touching person's intention and feelings. Next is appearance and artifacts. Believing that others do not judge a book by its cover is a naive frame of thought. How one dresses and presents themselves proclaims a persona and creates a first impressions, like color and chronamics. Color variations in clothing and environmental colors, while chronamics using the time to communicate. Next is functions of nonverbal cues. Nonverbal communication conveys meaning. As we've already learned, verbal and nonverbal communication are two parts of the same system that often work side by side, helping us generate meaning in terms of reinforcing verbal communication. Gestures can help describe a space or shape that another person is unfamiliar with in ways that words alone cannot. Next is nonverbal communications influences others. Can be used to influence people in a variety of ways, but most common way is through deception. Nonverbal communication regulates conversational flow, help us regulate our conversations so we don't end up constantly interrupting each other or waiting in awkward silences between speaker tones. Pitch, which is a part of vocalists, helps us cue others into our conversational intentions. Next is nonverbal communications affects relationships. The nonverbal messages we send and receive influence our relationships in positive and negative ways and can work to bring people together or push them apart. Nonverbal communications expresses our identity, it expresses who we are, our identities, the groups to which we belong, our cultures or hobbies and interests, etc. are conveyed non-verbally through the way we set up our living and working spaces, the clothes we wear, the way we carry ourselves, and the accents and tones of our voices. Next is how to improve non-verbal communication skills. The following tips can help you to learn to read and non-verbal signals of other people and enhance your own ability to communicate effectively. These are the steps to improve nonverbal communication skills. Pay close attention to nonverbal signals. Interpret nonverbal signals carefully. Avoiding giving complex signals, try to be as honest as possible in communicating your emotions. Smile genuinely. Faking a smile is obvious to the observer. Maintain the eye contact to your audience expects. Beware of your posture and gesture you use. Try to use appropriate vocal signals while minimizing unintentional messages. Imitate the appearance of the people you want to impress. Respect your audience's comfort zones. Adopt handshake that matches your personality and intentions. Be aware varying attitudes towards time. Use touch only when appropriate. And last, interpret nonverbal signals carefully. Be aware that people may give false nonverbal cues. Remember, few gestures convey meaning in and of themselves. Consider nonverbal signals in the concept of situation and culture.
So let's proceed to lesson 3, which is picking through promotions. Advertising is a form of communication that is used basically to promote or sell a service or a product. So that means that advertising is a form of communication. It is because it is a message that intended to persuade or inform people para mupalit sa ilang products. So advertising is communicated through numerous mass media together with ancient media. The particular presentation of the message in a very medium is mentioned as a billboard or ad or advert for brief. So, for example, sa mga TV commercial, like sa radio commercial, sa ad sa YouTube nga mukha pop-ups no sa kanang sa video magpapatawag skip ad, di ba? Next is, commercial ads usually get to urge exaggerated consumption of their merchandise or service through branding, which associates a product name or image with positive qualities inside the minds of consumers. On the opposite hand, ads that will elicit an on-the-spot sales square measured all direct response advertising. So let's proceed to non-commercial ads. Non-commercial entities that publicize quite a client's merchandise or services embody political parties, interest teams, non-secret organizations, and governmental agencies. Non-profit organizations may use free modes of persuasion, sort of a public service announcement. Advertising might both facilitate to reassure workers or shareholders that a company is viable or productive. So, ang kalahian ng aning commercial sa non-commercial is, ang commercial has something to do with selling goods and services. For example, food advertisements, clothing, mga perfume, and more. While ang non-commercial is more about providing information and motivating people to act after being exposed to that information. So, dili sila mag-sell og product but to raise awareness about an issue or mag-collect of funds for a cause. So, advertising is the best way to communicate to the purchasers. Yes, because makatabang siya to remind your customers about sa imong product and encourage them to continue buying your product. Advertising helps informs the purchasers concerning the brands accessible within the market and therefore the sort of merchandise helpful to them. Advertising is for everyone as well, dili lang sa mga as well as children, young, and previous. So it's an exploited media source with completely different techniques and strategies most satisfying. So next is, we have here objectives of advertising. So objectives of advertising has 4. So we have first, trial, continuity, brand switch, and switching back. So let's start with trial. The trial objective is the one that involves convincing the purchasers to shop for the new product introduced within the market. So here, the advertisers use flashy and engaging ads to create customers take a glance at the merchandise and buy for trials. So trial, for its word itself, it is more siya kanang dili pa bitaw mao ay kanang more siya ang company or ang brand is nag-promotion. So ang kanaang ilahang gipangbaligya is kuan pa na siya kanang mga free kay di ba nag-promote sila. So that means na kanang mag-use sila mga flashy and kanang mga social nga makapa-encourage sa mga customers to buy their products. So, trial pa siya, dili pa din siya literally release. Gi-try na nila if ganahan pa ang customer ana. So, diha na sila mag-base sa ilahang mga suggestions sa customers. So, next is continuity.
this objective is concerned about keeping the present customers stay onto the merchandise. The advertisers here typically stick with the transferal one thing new within the product, and therefore the advert in order that the present customers keep shopping for their merchandise. So, meaning, ang kanaang continuity, from the word continuity, so, kanang remain ang ilahang product through sa customers. So, kanang mustick ra sila sa ilahang product, especially if ang customers is kanang bago ra pod. So if bago pa ang customers, so kanang nabaguhan pa sila sa product and then naganahan sila, so magsige pa sila balik-balik ana imong product. And mo na siya mo na meaning ana niya nga continuity. Third objective is brand switch. This objective is essentially for those firms that need to draw in the purchasers of the competitors. Here, the advertisers attempt to convert the purchasers to change from the present whole their exploitation to their product. So, kay ang businesses, dili man jud na malikhayan ang mga competitors, ang mga kaparihag products. So, ang kanila siyang brand switch, it is kanang nag-attempt sila og change sa ilahang brand. Kay, di ba, if naa kay competitor, so, mas ma-encourage ka nga kanang imong paniluto ng imong product. Kay, if ang kato ang imong competitor, kay kanang mas nindot pa ilaw, so, ato jud ang mga customer, di ba? So, brand switch, meaning, nag-attempt ka og himo og mas mopalambo pa sa imong product. So, last objective is switching back. This objective is for the businesses that need their previous customers back. The advertisers use alternative ways to draw in their purchases back, like discount sales, new advertising, some remodeling done on the packaging, and etc. So, it is understandable man diba ang switching back nga ang that company, if ganahan sila nga mobalik ang ilang customer, so maghimo jud sila bago nga mga strategy, bago nga mga promotion para mobalik ang ilang customer, di ba? O maghimo sila mga alternative ways like kanang sa napa sa PPT, discount sales, new advertising, and etc. So let's proceed to importance of advertising. There are 4, and we have here number 1. Advertising is vital for the purchasers. Yes, as what I have said earlier sa akong i-discuss, na it helps inform sa mga customers about sa brand na available. It helps inform sa customer about sa brands nga available sa market and the variety of products nga gamit pod nila. So, the second one is advertising is vital for the vendor and firms. Yes, as ikaw kanang naninda ka, so ikaw ang mo-advertise dito sa imuhang sa society, sa mga customer. Makatabang na nimo para daghag customer nga makaibaw and then mopalit ana nga product. Third importance is advertising helps increasing sales. Yes, if ang customer kaibaw na ana, so dayon makita nila nga kanang nag-on lagi sila nagbago lagi sila o kanang label, di ba na may nga magbago label, magbago og kanang for example, imbes sa pasikanton, di ba, kanang kuandra man na siya, kanang usa rin siya kalingin, dayon karon is nagkuan sila kanang mura siya duha, pero usara gihapon usara ang sulod sa usa ka pack, pero daghan na siya ang sulod. Kay di ba kumuka ang tagpasit kanton, if isa kulangan, pero og duha na sad gani kanang kuan kanang sobra na sad. So kanang bago lang nako nahibaw-an nga ay idugay na nga ang kanton ang pasit kanton is ilan ang gidaghan, ilan ang gipunan og sulod sa usa ka pack. So, the last one is advertising is vital for the society. Yes, it's true. Kitang mga tao, kanang we have different mga needs man, di ba? We have different mga techniques on how, kanang for example, sa mga tools and equipments nato sa balay, kanang, di ba, daghan naman na ron. So, if i-advertise na nga lain nga, kanang alternative siya nga product, so, mupalit jud ana ang customer. For example, ay karon at kanang mga tao karon is more on social media, more on gadgets naman jud. So sila ay ang imong advertise is ato ka sa social media or pwede sa kanang TV commercial or sa radio. Daghan ang resources to advertise your product.
So, good day everyone. I was assigned to the topic of benefits of advertisement. First is to promote brand new product in the market. Launching a new product is another great tactic to increase customer base and compete with your competitors. Second is growth of the market. Attracting new customers in new markets or with new products and services. It also increases the resources and stock and generate more sales and profits. Third is multiple sales. It improves customer understanding. Selling through multiple sales channels gives merchants more information about their customers and let them leverage that information to increase sales. Next is fight competitors. When you compete with someone else, you let their values define your goals and the perception of your own performance. Next, educates customers. It boosts your overall customer's experience by improving customer satisfaction and loyalty, as well as the reducing customer and product returns. It also helps us stand out from the competition by positioning you as a market leader. 6. Elimination of middlemen. It reduces the logistic required when moving goods from the manufacturer to the consumer. 7. Higher quality product. This affects the success of the company and helps establish its reputation in customers' markets. It can lead to fewer production costs, higher investment returns, and increases in revenue. 8. Support the attainment. Workers who are better educated have better abilities to complete a given task, learn more from complex task training, and are more efficient in allocating work resources compared to workers who attended school for lesser number of years. 9. A lot of employment opportunities. It enables individuals to improve their living standards, and it also makes constructive use of human resources. 10. Reduction within the cost of the newspapers and magazines. It carries information about politics, economy, entertainment, sports, business, industry, trade, and commerce. With this, it will not only enhance your knowledge about the general information, but it will likewise improve your language skills and vocabulary. 11. Higher normal of living. They raise the standards of living people by drawing attention to the new products and ideas. They increase the demand for goods and more workers are needed to produce goods, so they provide employment. So now, let's proceed to the next topic, which is forms of advertising. So, first is the brand advertising. It is a form of advertising used to establish awareness for a brand, a product, or a service in order to strengthen identity and increase customer loyalty. It can employ all common advertising techniques like social media advertising or search engine advertising. So, the brand advertising, it helps companies generate awareness, expand reach, and make their brand name more recognizable to customers. And one way it does it by showcasing their brand story. It also helps creating awareness about a new product and reminding customers of existing goods and services. Branding allows us to build relationship with the audience, which can eventually turn them into the loyal customers. So, next is direct sales advertisement. It is a sales that occurs between a brand and the end user without a middleman or a distributor. They are the type of the B2C business to customer sale, and they can happen in person or online. So, direct sales advertising takes place when individual sales people directly reach out to consumers, whereas direct marketing involves a company marketing directly to the consumer. It delivers a higher conversion rate at lower cost. Consumers benefits from direct selling because of the convenience and provides, including personal demonstration and explanation of products, home delivery, and general satisfaction guarantees. So, next is the relationship building advertising. So, it is a strategy of customer relationships management that emphasizes customer satisfaction, retention, and lifetime customers value. It, its purpose is to market to current customers versus no customers. Acquisition through the sales and advertising. So a good relationship marketing strategy is rooted in building customers' loyalty and lasting long-term engagement with your customers base. Benefits include increased positive of word mouth, repeat business, and a willingness to the customer's part to provide valuable feedback to the company and their peers. The company save time and money by focusing on customers that will not as costly in terms of maintaining relationship with them. So that is all about, and I hope you understand my lesson. Thank you.